Hello, everyone, and welcome to AI Insights, the Executive Brief. I'm Ben's AI avatar, here to introduce another fantastic episode. Today, Ben is sitting down with Nate Dame, CEO and founder of Syllabus, and a true expert in SEO and digital marketing.
Because of those changes, I founded Syllabus, which is a new type of SEO platform trying to help companies be competitive in what matters, which is having incredibly engaging content, incredibly engaging UX and design that engages users better than your competitors, that keeps users on your site longer and in a more engaged way, more than any of your competitors in search.
Nate has been in the SEO game for nearly 15 years, helping B2B technology companies and many others stay ahead. From the days when link building ruled to today's focus on engagement and user experience, Nate's journey and insights are both fascinating and incredibly relevant.
If you think about it, AI content, AI is driven on statistics, and to oversimplify it, it's predicting the next word and putting the next word and giving you a piece, but it's just statistics that's doing that. So you can kind of think of it like, at best, it's going to give you an above average piece at best, right? Because it's taking all these, what it knows, all the content out there and trying to create a good piece for you and above average. And if you can do really good prompt engineering, maybe it gets like really above average.
Get ready for a conversation that dives into how SEO has transformed, why engaging content matters more than ever, and how Nate's platform Syllabus is redefining SEO strategies. Whether you're running a small business or working in a large enterprise, you'll walk away with actionable tips and a fresh perspective on optimizing your digital presence. Hello, everyone. Welcome to AI Insights, the Executive Brief. Today, I am here with Nate Dame. He is the CEO and founder of Syllabus, and also SEO extraordinaire, like marketing extraordinaire, right? Like you've been in this game for quite a while, it appears. So we'll start there. Go ahead and give a more formal introduction. Kind of talk a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, Ben, it's fun to chat. I know we've talked about a number of the future of AI and the future of SEO, so I'm excited to chat about it here. I've been doing SEO primarily for B2B technology companies, but a variety of others now for about 14, almost 15 years. I actually started when link building was like the thing. If you just built links, you could just, scream up search results, and it seemed so much easier looking back, where today it's just a very different and incredibly competitive space. But and so because of those changes, I founded Syllabus, which is a new type of SEO platform trying to help companies be competitive in what matters, which is having incredibly engaging content, incredibly engaging UX and design that engages users better than your competitors, that keeps users on your site longer and in a more engaged way, more than any of your competitors in search. And we've begun deploying that to in-house SEO teams and agencies, and it's been really exciting. Been really bringing a new type of a really important new type of optimization to the table.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm excited to jump in that engaging part of SEO and of writing, because I think that's interesting. But first, I think it's interesting when we talk about the complexity of SEO, because my background, right, is technology, cybersecurity. And I think back when I was an IT director back in, early 2000s, I had basically a firewall. I had email protection, virus protection, right? Maybe some web filtering. And it was actually somewhat similar to protect that environment. And now it's completely complex because of technology. And I kind of was thinking of that parallel when you're talking about SEO, how you're like, hey, it used to be like with the link building, it was actually pretty simple. I mean, I used to do Google AdWords back in the day, right? The cost per click thing was really cheap. It was easy to figure out. But yeah, you've seen some pretty significant changes. And it also, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like this game changes, I don't want to say on a dime. Is it once a year, twice a year? It seems like it's something you have to really keep up on.
Well, I think there's two aspects to, just how complicated is Google today. I mean, there's two ways to look at it. You can look at it and it is absolutely true that Google is like a exponentially more complicated today than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Right.
It absolutely is. Google's systems are more complicated. Its search rankings are more complicated. And how it determines what shows up, plus the search results themselves are more complicated. There's a new shopping experience just recently. AI overviews have everyone worried. And so Google and one view is far more complicated. But I think there's an argument to be made that doing SEO could be simplified today if we, take a step back. So allow me, if you would, to compare like Google 20 years ago versus Google today.
Yeah.
Google 20 years ago was trying to figure out how it could add more rank factors to its algorithm beyond links, because links just alone, although that was how Google started by studying links, links was getting spammed like crazy, right? People like me and other SEOs were just building links, and Google was just following these links, and a lot of times low quality stuff was showing up in search results. And so it had to figure out how to add other factors to search. And so Google would add a factor, the SEO community would figure it out, and then they'd kind of game that new factor, and it kind of seemed easy, right? Looking backwards, it seemed easy. Just figure out what Google kind of threw into the mix, recently, and game that factor, and okay, off we go. Fast forward to today, it's so complicated, you can't do that anymore. You can't. There's just so many factors, and what matters changes. You go from one industry to the next industry, or just one topic, one keyword, to the next topic, or very similar related keyword. What matters to that search ranking has changed dramatically. But here's what I've seen, and I think every SEO that has been at it for more than 6 months sees the same thing. Google is incredibly motivated to provide search results that users find value from, right? That is valuable to the user.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about if for the sake of this conversation or this little comment. I'm not talking about AI overviews and shopping experiences and things changing in search results, but the pages that Google uses in AI overviews, the pages that appear in search results, the products that appear in that shopping experience, what shows in search results, Google has to really be sure that those are really engaging pieces. And this goes all the way to Google's bottom line, right? If those pages aren't really engaging, then people will go to Bing, right? So Google has put a lot of money to make sure those pages are engaging. In fact, that seems to be the most influential factor in search results today, is how engaging your content is. So you could argue that today search is more complicated than ever today, but that's if you try to look at all the little details. But if you focus in on major on the majors and really emphasize figuring out what ranks today and that content and that design and UX, and truly try to understand what this means for you. Users seem to like these pages. Yeah. And really try to understand that specific to your niche, your content topic, your keyword, and then try to bring that into your research and then create a page that's better. And I'm not just talking about AI, hey, AI, go read this and write me a piece of content like that. That's a whole nother thing. But make your page better than what's out there today, and really wrap a process around that. SEO is actually simpler today, in a sense, because that alone, in my experience, it can be incredibly impactful.
Yeah, so much to unpack here, because I've got so many questions with this. As an entrepreneur running a smaller business, I feel like sometimes SEO is like a big company game, meaning they have the people, they have the resources. Maybe that's not the case, though. Is that just kind of how I'm feeling? I know a lot of people feel like that. How do I get ranked? How do I get seen, right? I mean, when you're a smaller business and you're growing, that's always your concern. Like, how do I get seen? Is it possible for smaller businesses to understand this and find experts like yourself to help? I don't know if that question makes sense, but it's something that's frustrating with me. For me, myself, is just being seen.
Well, smaller company will always feel overwhelmed by bigger companies that seem to win easily. But I can tell you, big companies don't win easily. It feels like it because you might see, this big company ranks first here and that big company ranks first over there. Well, I audit those big companies. I audit their content programs, and I haven't talked to a single big company content program that says, yeah, we know how to do that. We know how to replicate that. We're going to go and replicate that for the next topic and the next topic and the next topic. And they're just dominating their targets. I audit those big companies. I spoke with one on Friday afternoon, a CMO for a company you'd recognize. And I stated to them that 0.4% of their SEO content was successful. The rest was not successful and not delivering an ROI in terms of expected SEO content growth. And they agreed with that assessment. 0.4%, it's typically like 1%. So you can look at big companies and say, oh, they're everywhere. Or you could look at big companies and be like, they can afford like truckloads of pasta, and they can afford to throw that pasta against a wall, and wow, some of it stuck for them. And that's usually what happens with big companies. So, that'll maybe bring it down a notch for us as we feel overwhelmed. You can absolutely do work that will lead to traffic, SEO traffic coming into your site, if you focus on what matters today. And that's not just swimming in technical SEO, but really focusing on how to satisfy that end user.
I think that's good to know. It's almost like, I know in my AI world, there's data scientists, and it's almost like it's like SEO scientist is kind of a thing of really understanding this. Now let's talk about quality, because you mentioned link spamming. I don't know if that was the exact word, but back in the day, that's kind of like, hey, let's create a bunch of links. Now with AI, and I've seen this too, it's almost like SEO blog spamming, where they write, people and companies, businesses, they can write hundreds of blogs now very quickly, but now the quality isn't great, but they're hitting on the SEO target keywords, right? There's enough research with different companies to do that, but still the quality, if you read it, like it's nothing you're going to read. You're not going to get anything from it. Is that is that effort hurting people? Like, is it helping? Is that actually a successful thing that people can just use AI to write a lot of blogs? Or what are you seeing for quality content that makes the difference? As you said, Google goes through and says, hey, is this quality? Is this useful? How is that being determined, especially with AI spitting out, and me being an AI person, also an AI writer myself, AI spits out a lot of garbage if you don't look at the human aspect of it.
All right. A few weeks ago, I was talking to someone that was working on content programs for a university, and they were writing about a topic. We all know the problems with AI content, right? It can be low quality. They gave a fun example because they said they were writing about a certain common misconceptions about a certain topic, and so they asked AI to help them write a piece, and AI spit out those common misperceptions. He's like, well, that's funny. I specifically came here to address those misperceptions, and AI is going to help me, right? So we all know the problem with AI content and the many problems, and sure, maybe it can help us in certain ways. I guess you could answer that question yourself one way. You could say, hey, do I go to search, and is Google like ranking top, first, second, and third, that AI junk? I've seen the AI junk. Is Google ranking AI junk? And you can, of course, debate all day long about whether or not Google's search results are no higher quality. Maybe they're not as good as they were in the past. But I don't see search results being just taken over with AI junk, right? It's not just dominated by AI junk. Certainly it appears from time to time, and there's fun examples of it.
Right.
But AI junk content isn't what's showing up in search results time and again. So that's one way to look at it. It's sure not there. And really, there's marketers throwing like so much of that content into Google's index. You'd think if that did work, it would show up there, right? You might have an SEO vendor. Maybe you find a tool. There's tools today that you can give them your WordPress login. They will log into your site, give them your keywords. They'll generate the content. They'll put that content on your site. They'll optimize it each week or each month to improve it. They'll do this automatically. Pay them more money and they'll just put another 10,000 pieces on your site. So there's such a volume of AI generated content going to Google, but it's not showing up. Number one, it's not showing up in search results, and that's the same I've seen on the back end of this. Right, I've never stumbled across a content program where, oh wow, you just you spit out AI content and it's going great. At best, we're like, you know what? Now us as little marketers, now we can afford 2 truckloads of pasta and throw it against the wall. Except this pasta isn't sticky at all. Like none of it sticks. That's what it seems to be.
So how do you? I'm interested when you look at quality. How do you? And I'm going to kind of walk through some different ways that I might view SEO, and I look at SEO as blogs. I guess it can be web pages and everything like that. Is it? I could see having a good SEO word count, a horrible article, but it drives traffic and you get 1,000 people or 2,000 or 10,000 people, but no one goes any further into your website. And to me, it's like, okay, that's wasteful. Or you have a really good article and people read it and they're like, hey, this is great, this was useful, but they still don't dig in more into your website because the whole goal isn't to have someone read your content, right? I mean, in essence, your goal is to get them further and engage them. So maybe that's part of just having a good call to action. It's good. It's part of having a good transition into your articles. But where's that balance of like, hey, I need to drive people, I need a good article, but ultimately I need to get people here to continue the conversation.
Well, I think you could look at that as one, as not needing balance, right? What you need is exceptional content, right? You're up against, pick one article, one topic, right? Maybe it's how AI is impacting cybersecurity, right? AI and cybersecurity or whatever, right? Just making it up. But you have that one article. You need to figure out, number one, is there volume for that topic? That's really important, right? Because just writing about a keyword doesn't guarantee you volume. Is there volume for the topic? That's something we built in the syllabus because it seems like a big gap in the SEO space. We are flooded with keyword volume data, but we still don't know the volume per topic, right? Yeah. And so every idea, okay, let's say you have volume for that topic. Well, you need to now have the most helpful, most engaging article for that topic. There's potentially hundreds of thousands, and AI might be creating more every week, competing articles. You need to have the most engaging, most helpful article. Not the highest quality article in this subjective sense, but like the most engaging article out of hundreds of thousands of others. Right. And if Google does see that, you're gonna shoot to the top, most engaging for real people. At least as far as how Google measures it. Google measures it, and Google is rewarding content it thinks is the most engaging. So it means figuring out who's winning and making something more engaging than them. And it's a very steep cliff. Yeah. Like we're talking not like, like a mountaintop with this gradual little slope, but like this pinpoint, top of the mountain where you got to go from like, being good and okay and great and even like high quality, like, no, the very best. Like you got to be really more engaging than what's out there right now. Which is just, it's a fine-tuned, a detailed thing of like, what are they doing? What does that tell me about users? And how do I make something that's even more helpful, even better? Yeah. But to what you were saying, now what about engaging them in my site? Well, number one, if I'm really helpful, I'm solving a big part of that challenge that you said, which is like I'm providing them help. So are they going to read it? Are they going to skim it, find a quick answer? Whatever they need, I'm going to be that most engaging, most helpful piece. I'm going to give that to them. Then the next question is like, what are they going to do next on my site? And in essence, that just comes back to traditional marketing 101 and web strategy and website marketing strategy 101. Hey, if you got people on your site, are they doing what you need them to do? Are a reasonable percentage of them converting to next steps? Are a reasonable percentage of them converting to leads? What's my benchmark? What's my industry standard? What's my standard based on my own data? Are they converting? And then you can say, great, what are my goals? Well, one of my goals is rank in search. Great. I have to be the most engaged and most helpful for that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. My next goal, if I'm doing that, is great. I got to convert them, right? And so you can now work against your goals.
Okay.
And when you have goals that are competing or that you're balancing, you're much better off, right? You're not balancing
Yeah.
this nebulous idea of, oh, am I doing this SEO thing? Am I doing this engagement thing? But really, you can work right towards those goals. Am I competing in search and doing well? And then, yeah, am I converting the rate I'd expect? And how can I convert more aggressively? And when those compete, you're like, all right, too much, pushed my calls to action a little too aggressively. People are just bouncing off. Okay, great. Then you adjust, right?
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. I think as I search through and being a technologist, I've had to search a lot of how-tos, right, in my life, how to do X and Y. And even the same with LinkedIn. If I find someone who's giving me valuable content that I'm learning something from that's not too cumbersome and easy to digest, I usually follow them and go back. Same with the page. If I go to a site and I'm like, how do I do this? And then I go through the instructions and they're wrong and I can't do it, then I'm like, okay, these guys aren't good. Or I find the one that really hits the nail on what I was talking about. I'm like, these are good. And then you get the frustration of going to Reddit or something like that. And it's like, how do I do X? And the first person always responds, well, why are you doing that, idiot? It's like, well, that's the frustration for searches on Reddit. You're like, wait, just tell me how to do it. I don't need my reasoning question. Just answer like how you do it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it is interesting as you look at, that quality of content, how I think human nature is that we are appreciative for someone who solves a problem that we're not able to solve, and
Right.
Continue on that. So you're solving a problem with Syllabus. Obviously, you've stated a couple. What was your, I don't know if you want to call it your aha moment, what was your moment where you're like, hey, I need to create this to solve this? Like walk me through
Yeah.
that.
Right. Well, I think I'd say there's two big ones, right? So I mentioned earlier how we need to know that the topic volume, if we're going to do SEO, we need to be able to figure out that, and we call it the content need volume. If you're going to make a piece of content, you should know how much volume is for that piece of content. And something I've seen, since way before ChatGPT came around, we've been taking a keyword, brainstorming content ideas, and then writing content for those ideas without realizing that most of those content ideas, 9 out of 10 of them, didn't have any volume. People weren't actually going to those topics or those content, that type of content, right? They weren't going to those pieces. So we kind of believed this lie from the beginning, which was if I have a content idea and I put a high volume keyword into the title, suddenly that content idea could earn all this traffic. And in reality, no, people they don't go to a keyword. They have a need. They go to a specific thing, right? If they're learning how to, how to XYZ, how to do something.
Yeah.
And then you write some other page. It's like being an expose on that keyword. They're not going to go here. They're trying to learn how to do it, right? So it's specific to that content piece, that topic. And so we created this content need system. The eye-opening moment was, I remember looking at a piece of content we'd published for a client, which was doing quite well. And we see about 60 to 70 pieces that we had produced, over the years. 60 to 70% of the content pieces we produce generate, 1,000 or more clicks. And this is one of them where we see, okay, great, this piece is doing great. And I remember thinking like, oh, well, we targeted some keywords for this piece. I wonder what keywords it's ranking for. And I just remember this moment of looking in Search Console and seeing more than 1,000 keywords showing up, ranking, and driving clicks to one piece of content. More than 1,000 different keywords. And this thing was really taking off, right? And you sit there and think, well, how could any piece possibly drive traffic from 1,000 different keywords? Yeah. I didn't put 1,000 different keywords on that page, right? Right. And that's what the old mentality would have been. Did I put those keywords on the page? I must have put those keywords on the page. No, there's like more than 1,000 of them. How could it possibly make sense? To make sense of that, how could someone compete with that page and be like, oh, are they going to cram 1,000 keywords on the page? No one's going to have a good experience with that. Yeah. But this article was getting traffic for more than 1,000 different keywords. So I knew the glasses that I viewed the world through were really not correct.
Yeah.
And so that was the first one, is we got to look at content, need volume, which you can do. We have the data for it. We just have to look at it the right way. Just a few weeks ago, I asked ChatGPT for some content ideas for a keyword. And it gave me, 25 content ideas very confidently. SEO content ideas.
Right.
Chat, hey, SEO content ideas. I used a prompt and got a bunch of content ideas. Well, I put those all into Syllabus, and 23 of those content ideas had zero search volume.
Zero search.
Just like
Yeah.
zero. So even though they all had this keyword in it that had volume, no one's going to those types of topics around that keyword. 2 of them had volume, 2 out of the 25.
Interesting.
So we really have to, I think, level up our thinking to think about like what content, what volume is potentially there for that content need, and stop just thinking about that keyword like that. If I just sprinkle this keyword magic dust, it's just not true.
Interesting. So do you find, I've got a question with this, because I've seen SEO's keyword rankings with some, companies that show, hey, this keyword ranks at this. You see cost per click as something, and then you see search. Does cost per click and search kind of go hand in hand, meaning that Google sees, hey, this has a higher search volume, so I'm going to charge more of a cost per click? Or are they two separate things? And is the SEO keyword ranking, is that kind of a combination of several things? I've always wondered how that works.
Well, cost per click is Google's always going to try to maximize its cost per click, no matter the search volume, right? There are health topics with incredibly low search volume that a pharmaceutical company can sell its drugs for and bill insurance hundreds of thousands of dollars. So they might pay 10, 50, 100, several $100s per click for this keyword, even though the search volume is low. So, Google Ads is trying to drive cost per click as high as possible across the board in a sustainable way. The reason you see that in SEO reports is that's an easy way for an SEO to say, to demonstrate the value that might be there, right? Hey, the cost per click is high. If we could rank there, or hey, the cost per click of the traffic we're driving in is high. So it's a one indication of potential value. So SEOs like to point to that because it's a hard data point they can point to. But I think even though paid ads and search are on the same page, I think of them as two completely related but separate channels. Okay. Right? There's ways that you can find value by cross-referencing data. There's great little small and medium tricks you can pull to figure out where your market is by looking at AdWords data and using that in organic search. You can really drag some insights from organic search as you're going to optimize your paid program, but they're fundamentally, related but different programs.
Okay.
In fact, I think too, there's a difference between branded and non-branded search right there in Google, right? When someone types in your brand name, that's a very different search than when they type in some a non-branded search, and they happen to come to your site. And even that, for larger companies, even that needs to be thought of at times as two separate programs, because although of course very related and very much on the same search result, on the same Google search result, if you want to grow your brand traffic, that's a much different program than if you want to grow your non-branded traffic, right? Yeah. If you want to get more people to go online and search your brand name, that's a brand motion, and that's a positioning and communications motion, and might even bring in offline advertising, and there's a lot of PR, like true PR, versus if you want to grow your non-branded traffic, you're going to be doing, well, what we think of as SEO. You're going to be doing SEO. So I think search mixes a lot of things together in that search results page that sometimes it helps us to put in a couple of logical pillars of what you're going to try to work on and grow.
Interesting. So you're talking like it's the difference between searching like, hey, I'm like looking for a comfortable Nike running shoe, or just, hey, looking for comfortable running shoe. Like those two different searches, right? I'm looking for a Nike specific running shoe, and I'm looking for a running shoe. And you're saying those are two very different campaigns that you're running.
For a brand, yeah, right, exactly.
Okay.
For a brand, the work you're going to do to get more branded search is typically going to be very different than the work you're going to do for more non-branded search.
Okay. Interesting.
Um, both foundational SEO is going to apply to both. The technical SEO might apply to both.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a brand and you're up and running and you're getting organic traffic right now, and you want to ramp up your SEO traffic, doing a branded program to get more brand traffic, that's going to look very different than doing a program to get more non-branded traffic.
Interesting.
Those are two related but different, scopes of work and effort.
Interesting. All right. So we're approaching 30 minutes. I do have, let's say, another question I wanted to ask around where we balance out at, where this balances out, and then I'm going to give you closing thoughts after that. But first, I want, AI in my mind is the most, AI in marketing is the most convoluted and noisy part of AI right now. If you look at AI in business, it's actually getting drowned out by a lot of the AI in marketing noise because there's so many different that's what I like what you guys are doing. It's just very different. Is you're sticking out from the noise, but there's so many different SEO writers, marketing content producers, all these different things that are basically doing the same thing. But at the end of the day, they're using GPT to do it, and it's just spitting out the same thing. It's making it very, very noisy, especially in marketing. In business, like as far as internal data, there's actually not a lot of systems and AI programs out there that are doing that. Where do you think you balance out in marketing? I mean, obviously, what I like about what you're doing with Syllabus is you're taking that human in the loop approach. You're taking AI, you're taking your past knowledge, but also leaning on a very heavy human element of it. But are we going to balance out? Is it going to continue to be this noisy? I'm sure this makes sense to you because it's very noisy right now.
Yeah. I mean, the people will continue to debate, until they're red in the face what AI means for marketers and how marketing is going to change and needs to change. And those are worthwhile conversations. When it comes to search, when it comes to the SEO and ranking, I'd go back to that analogy of the antenna on top of a mountain, right? That if to win in search, we're not just climbing a mountain, but getting to the top and then climbing a super steep, slippery antenna, of just this massively steep slope to try to get to the very top of having the most engaging, most helpful content. So that's the other really massive component of Syllabus. We created a visual competitive analysis tool set that helps marketers study the pieces of content that are already at the top, that very top, to study every aspect of that content, including technical factors, but also where every other SEO tool really falls short, the words and the UX and the interaction of the two in its richest form. So it makes sense of those pieces. And so we offer AI mini tools and tools that help you study those winning pages, and then that can also help you craft a page that's better. But what you said, keeping the human in the loop is really important to us.
Yep.
AI, a lot of AI tools, what they've done is basically they've assumed that the AI can do a whole lot, or they just kind of dump a lot more work on the user. Like, hey, here's the piece. Now you go and edit it, try to polish it. Like, oh, wait, this is going to take me even longer than if I just wrote the thing myself. What we try to do is keep the human in the loop at every step. When AI writes a piece of content for you, it's doing a whole lot of steps in its system that you try to craft that piece. And what we did is we made every step something that a human can still see and understand and process and refine. Because you're trying to create a piece of content that's better, like the best out of so many more. If you think about it, AI content, AI is driven on statistics, and to oversimplify it, it's predicting the next word and putting the next word and giving you a piece, but it's just statistics that's doing that. So you can kind of think of it like, at best, it's going to give you an above average piece at best, right? Because it's taking all these, what it knows, all the content out there, and trying to create a good piece for you. And
Yeah.
above average. And if you can do really good prompt engineering, maybe it gets like really above average. But if you have 100,000 pieces competing and Google's indexing those and determine these are the best,
Yeah.
like being number 500,000 isn't going to be great. Being number 200,000 isn't going to be great. Being ranked 100 out of 100,000 ain't great. Like it's
Yeah.
only 1, 2, and 3. And so if you think that you're going to like work from this better than average, you're actually down 500,000, you're not really great and you're going to work all there. It's a really hard game. We really
Yeah.
wanted to keep human, study and intuition at the forefront to craft and understand with AI assists, what are the best pieces doing? How do I learn from that and then really do something way, way better than what
Yeah.
the best is doing? That's a human challenge, right? We understand people, we understand humans, we understand our readers. AI doesn't understand, right? It's just following the number, it's what it can do. It doesn't understand the people you're trying to reach. You need
Yeah.
to be able to really have AI assists, but use your understanding of the people to help them better and in a better way than the current winning pieces.
100%. I love that you guys are evaluating the best content, and it just reminds me like of sports. Like if you're wanting to be a better free throw shooter, you don't go look at everyone who's shooting 60%. You don't go watch all of Shaq's videos of how he's shooting when he was shooting 58%. That's not what you're evaluating. You're looking at all the videos of the people who are shooting, 92, 93%, and you're evaluating what are they doing, and that's
Yeah.
what you're looking at. And I love that you're doing that here with this content. Is you're taking all the articles that are performing, and then I remember you told me that it's not 2 or 3 data points. It could be 10, 20, maybe 100 data points that you're selecting from, and you're saying, hey, this is what's successful, and then you're taking that and you're giving someone the recipe for success to be able to compete with these 100,000, 50,000 articles that they're competing with.
Yeah.
Did I sum that up correctly?
Yeah, yeah. The next layer there of studying the winning content is we use AI assists and we help users themselves identify what we call novel rank factors. These are the aspects of the winning content that are unique and that seem to be correlating to high growth, but they can be incredibly nuanced, right?
Yeah.
It can be a style, a tone, whether a certain topic or subtopic is mentioned or whether it's not mentioned, whether we're spending a few paragraphs, giving the person the overview of the topic at hand, or maybe the entire piece is the overview, whether we're defining that keyword or not defining that keyword. All of these are aspects of the content that either make the page incredibly engaging or less engaging, right?
Yeah.
And so it's about identifying those novel rank signals and including like what's visually on the page, how the page is laid out. So those novel ranks and the right mix of them that sets winning content apart. I recently looked at one for an IT company that was addressing the topic of something about firewall settings that had with Windows. Sorry, I abandoned Windows like now over a decade ago, and
Right.
I've just been in Mac, just doing emails, and I kind of moved out of playing with my OS to any
Yeah.
degree a long time ago. But this topic, this very specific topic, was about resetting certain firewall settings in Windows. The winning piece looked maybe not like a great page, but it was one of the few pieces that was just very simple. It had 5 screenshots and 5 steps, and that
Yeah.
was it. And then the second and third and fourth pieces were on some sites that were more we recognized and were more popular sites, but they also were simply screenshots and very short descriptions. And the
Yep.
piece that the client in this case had created and wasn't performing was your typical SEO piece. It was
Yep.
about 2,000 words, went in detail, did all these things. So it's always about maybe that typical SEO piece would rank in another context, but in this context, the mix of signals that we could identify were really clear. And so you have to apply that to any piece you're working on. Throw your assumptions out the window and study what users are already really engaging with. that means finding those novel signals and then finding the right mix of those novel signals and trying to do them better than
Awesome.
the piece that's winning today.
That's amazing. So how do people get a hold of you? How do they get a hold of Syllabus if they want
Yeah.
to help with their content, if they feel like they want to sit down? I know that you walked me through Syllabus. You walked me through a lot of this idea in some depth, and it was just so valuable to learn. How do they get a hold of you to
Sure.
enhance?
Yeah, best way is to jump on syllabus.io, jump on our site, and reach out right through there, and they can get a hold of me through the site. You can also just email me at nate@syllabus.io, and I'd love to chat, love to debate SEO, talk SEO, and give you a quick ramp up and how you can do this for yourself. Figure out how much volume your topic really has and where you are in that, and then figure out exactly what your competitors are doing to be engaging, to be so engaging to real users, and then put your own page right up against that to deploy those things to your page, and then watch your traffic grow over time. So I'd love to connect.
That's awesome. Nate, thank you so much. I've learned a lot. I mean, from talking to you before, even now, learned even more. So it's a great conversation. I find it just fascinating. And I really like that you're doing something that is standing out, not just the same thing everyone is doing, but you're really approaching this in a different way. So thanks again for jumping on. I look forward to collaborating with you more.
Yeah, likewise.